Billionaire investors are pouring into a new concept that could completely change the game for AI data centers. Here to break down what's happening in the AI data center space and this whole new concept that really could change everything is Keith Kaplan with Tradesmith. Keith, we love having you on. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting.
Yeah, this topic is awesome. It sounds almost sci-fi, but it is so much potential, and it's crazy to see all of the investors coming to the table for this idea. So before we get into what this is, let's just talk about data centers in general. There is so much demand. I know if you're a longtime viewer on our channel and you just watched the video we had on Friday, we talked about this demand, and Applied Digital's earnings report this week shows just how much demand there is for data centers right now.
Absolutely. And there's also problems with data centers on Earth. As a foreshadow of what we're going to talk about, when you think of data centers, you have to think in terms of power, cooling, communication, and chips. And power on Earth right now is a massive, massive problem. And it's one that we look to solar and nuclear to augment. And America is way behind on this compared to China.
Definitely the story that has been with data centers and really AI in general is that they need so much power. And with that becomes cooling issues, and their water usage of AI in the data centers has been another topic making headlines too. So this concept is coming up as a potential solution to that. And there seems to be a lot of backers to it. So let's talk about who's coming to the table to invest in this concept.
Okay, great. So this concept is something that we call orbital compute. And when you hear that, it's sort of like, well, what is that? It's just data centers in space. And this is the hottest new mega trend. And I'm telling you, this is the natural evolution to AI, what we hear about data centers right now, telecom, and everything happening in that space on Earth. And we're going to see this explode over the next 5 to 10 years. And I have to tell you, naysayers, they're going to be there, but they must beware because people have such a negative opinion on this idea of putting data centers in space. They say it's too far-fetched. But then you have to ask, why are the key AI billionaires, the pioneers of AI, investing in this space? Why is China committed to putting constellations of data centers in space? The name we all think of when we think of space or we think of Mars is Elon Musk, and he has already started by putting upgrades into Starlink to allow it to host AI computing payloads in space. Then there's Jeff Bezos. He believes that in 10 to 20 years, it will be far cheaper to host a data center in space compared to Earth. And he's already using Blue Origin to work on enabling these technologies. And we didn't hear anything about this 6 months ago. This all has emerged over the past few months. Sundar Pichai of Google, the CEO, he's announced Project Suncatch, which is focused on putting satellites with custom AI chips in orbit in 2027. That's just a year away. He believes space data centers will just be the norm in a decade. And then I saved this one for last because, of course, NVIDIA is getting in on this. Jensen Huang has already shown that they can run and even train AI models in orbit. So this megatrend, it's alive, it's here to stay, and it's going to absolutely explode.
That is so many key players coming to the table, and it all means a lot of investment coming to this idea. I also love, Keith, that you mentioned the naysayers because we did do a video on this about a month ago. We had the CEO of Powerbank on, and he talked about this concept for the first time on our channel and how they're trying to use some of their solar power to help power some of these plants in space. So we had that video if you haven't checked that one out. But we saw comments on that video from people saying, this is way too far-fetched. There's no way this ever happens. This is sci-fi. You're talking about something that's way too far off. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said this is already in the works and going to be happening as soon as next year in some cases.
I totally get it. I mean, this does feel like sci-fi. And I have to say, I use Starlink at home. And the idea of just a couple of years ago of me putting a dish on my roof, pointing to the sky and getting internet that's as fast as the cable internet I had was super far-fetched, but I got sick of crappy internet. And so I replaced it just a couple of months ago with Starlink, and it's been flawless, even with snow and ice. The idea that I'm just pointing to the sky and I'm getting a faster internet than I've ever had before is just mind-boggling for me.
Yeah, there's so many changes coming. I think it's impossible as consumers to say, oh, that's not possible. I think we're proving that the impossible is very possible faster than we ever imagined. So that's why this concept is so interesting. I also know why you and your team at Tradesmith are doing so much research on this new concept. It's trying to get in early on a concept that's very new but rapidly progressing. You have a brand new report out on the 10 stocks that could really benefit from orbital compute once this concept takes off. I have a QR code here and a link in the comments where you can access those 10 stocks for free right now at Tradesmith's website. Today, Keith, we are going to get into 3 of the names that you are really excited about, these 3 companies that have the strongest potential to benefit from this concept. But before we get to those names, I do want to talk a little bit more about why space. Why move data centers to space? Why does this make sense?
Yeah, this is a great question. And this is what helps people understand the importance of investing in companies that can do this. So we talked about this earlier, but when you think about a data center, we're thinking in terms of power, cooling, communication, and chips. And power is a major issue right now. Our grid infrastructure on Earth, but especially in the US, it is archaic, it's really expensive to build, and you have all of these residential issues that happen, these complaints. It makes it very much more arduous process than you'd think to put a data center up. And it's not like they're using America's deserts. These are in our backyards. And one of the biggest problems right now with solar on Earth is that we need batteries for storage. In space, you can actually keep satellites, aka data centers, in the sun 24 hours a day. And the sun in space is 30% more intense. So you're always catching energy and you don't have to store it. That light is always available to you because you're able to reposition these satellites, these data centers, anywhere you have to get sun 24 hours a day. So you're able to produce a lot more energy per square foot in space than on Earth. You don't need batteries. And those batteries on Earth, they're expensive and they're heavy, they're gigantic. And so you lower the cost of energy in space by using solar, which is the really abundant. It's the most abundant you can possibly have, and it's the cheapest. Then there's the cooling. On Earth, cooling based in data centers, it's really expensive and it takes up a lot of space. The majority of this mass and weight in a data center is actually cooling. It's not the chips. You have HVAC, you have liquid cooling, you have to put energy into the data center for this. And liquid cooling actually needs something called cooling system distribution hubs. All of this is expensive. All of it is heavy. In space, cooling is free. You just put a radiator on the dark side of the satellite. The sunny side is something like 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and a shaded side is more than minus 250 degrees. So it's kind of crazy to think about that. You have a thing in space and it's got a 500-degree swing, potentially a lot more. You also have the concept of server racks in data centers, and each satellite could be a rack, could be a set of racks, and then you have to think about communication. On Earth, we do this via fiber optic cables, and typically between racks, that's the fastest way you can get transmission. In space, we actually can take the same concepts that we have in space already with satellites, and we can link these satellites together with lasers. And this is even faster than how we can get a signal on space because of the vacuum in space. There's no resistance. It's just basically emptiness. There's extremely low pressure, low density. So space versus Earth, it becomes a lot more fascinating. It's actually thought, believe it or not, that orbital data centers in 10 years could be roughly 10 times lower energy costs over their lifetime compared to the same workload on Earth. Once this is fully up and running, this is a wild space.
Yeah, it sounds like a much more sustainable concept than some of the energy drags that we're currently seeing from AI right now. So this is why we're seeing so much investment and so much excitement about this concept. And now let's talk about the companies that could make this all happen. This first one is a really big deal because this is one of those companies that's really helping to get so many different ideas actually into space.
Absolutely. And you've had this company featured on your channel before, and even I spoke about it last year with you. When we spoke about it, it was already 5 times bigger. It had gone up 500% in just a year. And guess what? It's gone up probably another 60 to 70% since we spoke. It's Rocket Lab. The ticker symbol is RKLB. It's about a $40 billion company now. It was $5 billion 18 months ago. How crazy is that?
That's wild.
And it's about 5 years old. It's an infrastructure play on the idea that the future has a lot more hardware in orbit. And we're not just talking about getting rockets to go into space. We're talking about spacecraft to go between these different constellations of satellites. We're talking integration. We're talking mission operations. Look, if orbital compute becomes a real theme, and I believe it will be, it's likely to be built as these distributed constellations of networking and edge payloads. And Rocket Lab just benefits simply from more systems being built and deployed into space. And a key proof point is the fact that they're working with Varda Space Industries, and they're also working with the Air Force Research Laboratory and NASA. So they're going to be heavily involved in here. So the big thing I would say to watch with Rocket Lab is really growth in spacecraft platform backlog. You want to see their backlog get a lot bigger. You want to see repeat missions, and you want to see this sort of signal that Rocket Lab is continuing to win as a space systems company, not just somebody who can launch into space.
I think those are really key points to keep looking for, that backlog especially. And I know that did exist early on. Are they helping to ramp up their capacity already?
Oh, absolutely. They are getting into space more and more often. They're getting these contracts, and I think they're going to be the key player, do a whole lot of even manufacturing in space. Because remember, they can 3D print an engine on Earth. What's to stop them from trying to bring that either to the moon or directly in space?
Yeah, such an innovative company. It's why so many investors are excited about this one. One pause maybe investors might see looking at Rocket Lab right now, if you're just starting to think about getting in, it's had so much growth. I think, and very recently, just this last week, had some really nice pops as well, trading close to that all-time high. Is there still upside to consider for this one? I think some investors get nervous on a relatively new company that's really innovative like this continuing to go up.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've been around 5 years. I see no reason why in the long term they can't continue to be much higher than they even are today. I totally get the idea that there's all-time highs. There feels like a lot of volatility in the market because the markets are, coasting around all-time highs. There's no reason to, I would say, wait to get in, but there's always a reason not to pile all your money into these stocks. You have to be very risk conscious in any type of investment. And something like Rocket Lab's considered bigger than a small cap. It's more like a mid cap to a large cap even by now, but that's not built on its revenues, right? That's built on this idea that they're going to carry into space different types of missions and eventually make it to the data centers in space. So you do have to be careful investing in any stock out there that we mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially on new technology like this. These are all good stocks to add to your watch list and really do some more research on before you invest your own money. Another way to do that research, again, I'm going to throw out that report that you have. It's a more in-depth look at it. So if you want to check that out, here's that QR code again to really get some more education before you dive into these stocks. This has a list of 10 of them again, and it's free to look at, and go read a little bit more with Keith and his team at Tradesmith. All right, Keith, you've got 2 more stocks for us. This next one, I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the channel before.
Okay, great. So this stock is tiny. Most people have not heard about it, even though it's been around for about 5 years, but it is starting to take off in its core mission. This company is called Redwire. The ticker symbol is RDW, and its market cap is about $1.5 billion. And like I said, it's been around about 5 years. It's one of the most direct, small cap public plays on space infrastructure. So this is the physical hardware that makes large orbital platforms possible. That's what Redwire is doing. If orbital compute grows, and again, I believe it will, the billionaires are in on this. I have to remind you of that. The bottlenecks aren't just chips. It's going to be power generation, deployable structures, integration, and that's exactly Redwire's core mission and where they're operating. Why I like them is they've already won public work with NASA, and this includes biotech and on-orbit operations, amongst a lot of other work that they're doing for others. One of them is Thales Alenia Space. And so the key thing to watch with them is, again, going to be contract wins. And when you see them getting contracts tied to large deployable structures and power systems, that is where you're going to see scale, and you're going to see a lot of commercial activity for Redwire. So I'm really excited about Redwire. I think it can be a huge winner in the space industry. And this is the type of company that either will stay where it's at or could get 50 to 100 times bigger over the next decade because of space.
Yeah, it really just depends on where this sector goes. And if we're seeing this kind of investment, I think you make a really great point. Don't forget about all the investment happening here. The contracts are another good thing to watch with this one. I'm curious, one area of this space competition that we talk about, we don't have Starlink and Elon, who everyone thinks of with space, isn't that publicly traded company yet. But are we seeing, Elon's company working with Redwire too? Are they providing that kind of picks and shovel infrastructure play for all of the different companies working to explore space right now?
Yeah, I believe they will be. And I think Starlink will be a huge player. I actually think that SpaceX, which owns Starlink, is going to be massive because Elon is trying to produce the first completely reusable rocket that he can take into space and bring back down. The moment he hits that, and I believe nobody on Earth can do this but Elon and SpaceX. The moment he hits that, you will see data centers in orbit just explode because it will just be the cost of fuel to get key components out into space. And as you see a company like Rocket Lab figure out how to manufacture in space, or Elon himself figure out how to manufacture in space. And I think Starlink will be providing the network infrastructure and the lasers. They figured out how to do laser communication in space. When everybody said he would fail, he figured it out. And like I said, laser is even faster than fiber optic. So I think they're going to be pivotal to this orbital compute mission that we're on.
So Redwire, do they supply the materials and the pieces that companies like SpaceX and NASA and other companies need? Is that right?
Yes, they're focused really in what's called deployable structures and integration of everything and power generation in space. So you're going to see them helping to build solar and all the integration happening within the data centers.
Okay, interesting. And I'd like you to pick a stock every video that we talk about to add to my paper trading watch list to keep following along. And I like the last name you have for us because it's an unknown stock too. It's one I've never heard of, so I'm excited to talk about that. But this one I think is the one I'm going to add to my Bridget Spies watch list. I think Redwire is an intriguing name. It's new. I haven't heard of it yet. There seems to be some bullish analysts on it. I like that you're excited about it. So I'm going to add it to the watch list and continue to see how it performs over time and see what kind of moves we have in the next year or two with this one. Let's get to that third name, Keith. I'm really excited about this company. Again, it's a new one. Never heard of it.
Yeah, so what's special about this company is it's actually been around 40 years and it's been reinventing itself lately. And so that's why I really like this company. You sort of have a management team that has understood it's had a change over time. It's had a sort of what I call a product life cycle that's had a change. The company's close to a $12 billion market cap. It is CACI. It's actually pronounced CACI, not khaki, as a lot of people call it. It's a mission, software, and secure networking play. You need secure networking in space. So if you think about orbital compute, it's not just putting GPUs in space and having them communicate. It's making these distributed architectures actually usable for real missions. And what that means is communications, cybersecurity, orchestration across classified environments. When you think about security, that is going to be critical in space, especially when there's really no regulation of space right now. CACI, they're already winning in this area. They've been awarded major work modernizing the U.S. Space Force's network infrastructure, and they've also announced substantial new awards supporting the U.S. intelligence community. When the government is investing in a company, we should be looking at that company as an investment as well. So again, it's about contracts. You just want to see more and more contracts that are linked to space missions, to the systems that we're putting up there. And when you see that in the budget and you see the US going after that, a company like CACI should do great. And what I love about them is, like you said, nobody knows about them. They're kind of this under the radar play, but it's an established company. So that gives me a lot more excitement about investing in a company like that.
Yeah, this one is so interesting simply because it has been around for so long. What was its expertise before? And when did it really start to make this pivot?
So their expertise has always been in sort of cyber communication, cybersecurity. So when you have this network infrastructure that has to talk to each other, keeping that, in a way that can be classified is why they get a leg up. And their ability to promise they can do this in space is why they're so interesting and why the US government is interested in them. You have an established sort of network communication infrastructure type of play here that you can then take that methodology and bring it to space.
Super interesting. And again, this is not far off. This is something they're talking about and figuring out all the logistics for, from communications to powering these data centers in space. You can learn more about how to power data centers in space here.